We are going over a classic today. This is Uncanny X-Men 274. The print date was March 1991. And I got to say that I'm very thankful that Marvel is starting to reprint a lot of these older issues because I don't. That's why a lot of times the older Uncanny X-Men books I'm really reluctant to go over because I'm just really do not want to take them out of the plastic and chance running them. So whenever I see a reprint like this, I grab it so that I can record it and also I can give it to my son so he can read it without destroying the original copy that we have. So again, March 1991 was the print date. And one thing that I will say that I liked about the latter half of Claremont's X-Men run is once everybody went through the Siege Perilous and they kind of scattered, all the issues just kind of focused on different parts of the X-Men. So like you get Jubilee and Psylocke and Wolverine, you get Dazzler, you get Gambit and Storm, and it was just kind of cool. And then when they brought them all together, also cool, but also at the same time it's sort of a wet fart because that was Marvel wanting to bring everything back to status quo, but I don't want to get into all that. This particular issue focuses on what happened to Rogue. Now, I had to kind of go back because I could not remember for the life of me what happened to her. But before we dive into that, this is A Tale of Pride and Power featuring Magneto, the Master of Magnetism. Crossroads. This is Chris Claremont's script, Jim Lee plot and pencil, Scott Williams ink, Pat Brousseau doing the letters, Joe Rosas doing the colors, Bob Harris, editor, and Tom DeFalco, editor-in-chief. Ah, gorgeous. Gorgeous dynamic work. This is what you call peak Jim Lee work. Now, again, as I was just talking about, if you kind of want to follow, because I know that the latter half of Chris Claremont, say that 3 times fast, gets a little murky. So if you want to follow Rogue, start with, I think it's Uncanny X-Men 247. They're going against, I think it's Master Mold. And Dazzler uses the Siege Perilous because she forgot she had it on her, opens it up and goes to suck the Master Mold Sentinel through it, but ends up taking Rogue. And that's where the book ends, is Dazzler going, oh my God, Rogue, and we don't know what happens to her. Now jump to Uncanny X-Men 269, and this is her battling with the inner demon of Carol Danvers. Because remember, back in Avengers Annual 10, when she stole Carol's powers, as we go later on into the X-Men, she's fighting with the consciousness of Carol Danvers. So she's always jumping between the two, which was kind of a cool little concept. Then we come to essentially the end of that arc, and that is this 274. I had to do a lot of jumping and a lot of digging because I could not for the life of me remember. Now, everyone, Rogue, Magneto, and Kazar, or Kazar, however you want to pronounce it, are in the Savage Land. They're going against Zaladan, who's also, or Zaladane, however you want to pronounce it again. He's taking over the Savage Land. Magneto has done everything that he can to re-imprint Rogue's personality back to her, but she's not at full strength. So she is, at this point, a little more, vulnerable, which kind of makes this interesting, especially when all of Zaladane's mind-controlled lackeys come to attack our heroes. And I just love how on every single panel, gorgeous, dynamic, high-quality artwork. And then I like how Chris Claremont kind of goes back and starts to revisit old things. So like Amphibious, not doing so bad so far, hot blood. Greetings, O Creator. Remember me? And Magneto talks about how he essentially abandoned his original mutations here. Let me see if I can find it. He goes, so easily said, and I'm thankful my helmet keeps both friend and foe from seeing how dearly, even though this small effort costs me. Like me, Rogue is a mutant. Hers being the power to temporarily drain those she touches of mind and memory, absorbing any and all of their abilities in the process. Under normal circumstances, the process renders her victims instantly unconscious. So I missed the part where Magneto's talking about his mutant men, but as you can see here, Rogue is not full power, as I said, and I like how Magneto just says, regrettably. I like. And, she can't get away, and it takes Magneto using everything that he can to save her. I hear my daughter, Anya, scream as she burns before my eyes. Hear Isabel's grasp of surprise as she is murdered. Two I love, but were unable to save, only avenge. It will not be that way with Rogue. So we see how Magneto is trying to battle his inner demons, trying to live somewhat like Xavier, but he has all this trauma. People that he loved, gone. Rogue says, "Hardly a revolution, woman. We have been expecting such an attack for quite a while. You said you'd let them go." If her information was worth the price. It is not. Magneto, that's murder. No less than they had planned for us, Rogue. That makes it right. We're the good guys, right? We're supposed to stand for something better. She actually believes that. Why can't I? All I see is blood. That has already been spelled. That yet to be. I see my path so clearly. But I turn away. And it's Rogue's passion that makes Magneto stay his hand. And we can just see how he's fighting with these inner turmoils. I don't want to go through all of this. The more irresistibly I'm drawn back. I should have died myself with those that I loved. Instead, I carted the bodies by the hundreds, by the thousands. From the death house to the crematorium and the ashes to the burial ground. Asking now what I could not then. Why was I spared? And what I like is what's set up in this particular issue is revisited in the launch of the 1991 X-Men #1, where Magneto re-enters the Earth's atmosphere and everyone's getting ready for World War III. And it's Rogue that reaches him, but she gets hit by that nuke and it makes him go unhinged. So this is one thing I wish that would have been further, covered in latter issues, is the will they, won't they. What do I mean by that? Look at that. Gorgeous colors. And I love that Magneto says, sleep is a mistake, but I'm so weary this once I can't resist. So the artwork gets a very stark change. The nightmares that come along. Flowers, scent of growing things, joyous, wonderful sounds of life, so clear, so crisp, after more than half a century. Someone sobs. My sister holds tight my hand. My father still cannot believe this is happening. I hear laughter. The guns ablaze, and I'm falling with the others. Into darkness. Loamy earth smell, tainted by the acid burning of lime. All of us pressed so tight together, embracing eternity. So easy to give up, lie in my grave, breathe my last. But I fight. What are you doing? My voice is sharper than I mean. And there for a moment, Rogue and Magneto realize that they can touch. Am I imagining this sudden spark between us? Leaving Rogue is shaking his eye. Leave well enough alone. I am pledged to another, as much as one can pledge a heart full of ghosts. So that moment between Rogue and Magneto is spoiled here, because Kazar says that Zaladane is attacking. And Kazar asks Rogue to stay back and watch over Shayna and I guess the kids. She goes, the heck they are. And I love how Magneto kind of, any type of solemn moment that he may have had, for once, girl, do as you're told. Or have you no conception of the value of what Kazar entrusts to your care, any more than of your own worth, to we who may be about to die. I cannot recall a point in my life when I did not fight. I just do not see this level of writing anymore, and it just kills me to go back and see what we had, and not saying the wet fart that we have now, but we just don't get that. I'm not going to say Shakespearean, but novel level writing in comic books that used to make us think. I remember reading this as a kid, and it really didn't click with me until I was older. And I look back and go, God, maybe it's what sparked, again, a lot of people, I will say, comics are a gateway to literacy, as Art Spiegel, I believe, was the one that said that is a gateway to reading. And comics were the way that kind of stepstoned me into novels. And a lot of what I read in comics, because they'd use a lot of big words, I'd start to recall them. And I wish that we had that for the next generation now. Anyway, going back to how awesome this book is, just when we think that Magneto and all of our team here is overwhelmed, in walks Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's just a great little addition to this little ragtag group. However, there is friction. Here, the Russian leader, because it's a joint task with S.H.I.E.L.D. and different nations. So this is a Russian leader, and he is not okay with Magneto being part of this. He says, I will never be safe. It'll never be safe for you, butcher, around true sons of Rodinia, I believe is how you pronounce that. And Fury's trying to tell him to stow it, because my son was a lieutenant aboard the submarine Leningrad, which was a submarine that Magneto sunk. Again, a cry from the past. One farther to another, in anguished grief for a slain child. At the time, my actions seemed quite appropriate. The Leningrad had fired a salvo of nuclear ballistic missiles at me, so I sank her with all hands. Thinking of that crew not as people, but merely an object. Listen, how dare they defy me, threaten me, these Russians whose countrymen let my daughter burn to death. There is too much history and hate between us. I cannot talk to these men. Again, Rogue, being the voice of reason, is able to bring Eric around to working with them. However, there are ulterior motives that I don't want to spoil in this book. And as we come to a draw, we see how the rest of the Uncanny X-Men are about to be reunited with the rest of their team. Oh, God, guys. So much to unpack, and I don't want to go through all that. But damn, this is why these older books stand the test of time, why a lot of these newer issues, maybe at one point in history, may have some worth, but that's why these are always sought after to this day. And why, being able to recall now that I'm older, I love that they further explored this in the Age of Apocalypse. If you haven't read that, I have gone over it. I'll leave a playlist card somewhere where you guys can check out the whole Age of Apocalypse. But in that alternate future, Rogue basically turns her back on Remy and decides to marry Magneto, and they have a son named Charles. So more recommended reading for you guys. Uncanny X-Men 274. If you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop or wherever it is like to get your action figures and comics, and grab an original if you can. If not, you can grab the reprint. Damn well worth it. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next, subscribe. That way, as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.